welcome to EyeOpener, powered by Siemens. And now, please welcome your host, Gugan Sangha.
Hello, and welcome to EyeOpener, a podcast for people who want to get a deeper understanding into the technology that powers predictive maintenance and Industry 4.0. My name is Gugan Sangha, and I'm your host. I'm delighted to welcome Jack Dudden and Susan Murray to this episode where we are going to be discussing their personal experiences into why they chose to work in the field of predictive maintenance, AI, and condition monitoring. So a big welcome to Jack and Susan. If you could start off by introducing yourselves, that'd be great.
Thanks for having us on, Gugan. Really excited to be here. So I'm Jack Dudden. I'm a condition monitoring specialist here at Senseye, and my job is on the delivery team. So I do a lot of work day to day with customers, handling their issues, their problems, resolving them efficiently.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. I'm Susan Murray, and I actually have the same job role as Jack. So I'm a condition monitoring analyst. And I'm part of the delivery side.
Perfect. Okay, brilliant. Great to have you guys on the show. So I guess the first question I have for both of you is just around getting into this whole space of predictive maintenance, AI, condition monitoring, and what made you want to get into that?
So I think for me, I didn't, at the start of my career, this wasn't my target industry. I came from quite an academic space, so I did physics university.
Okay.
And then I went into insurance.
Yeah.
And as I went through that process in my career, I very quickly found I wanted to do something much more practical.
Right.
I wanted to take those skills I have, and I wanted to be able to apply them to, much more applicable, real world applications, to be able to see the effect I'm having on the world, right? And that led to me when I was, looking where I want to go next.
Yeah.
Since I came front and center as somewhere where I could very much take the skills I've learned in those areas and bring them to the real world, right? And be able to deliver good value to people and be able to see the effects that I can have on the world, right?
Okay. That's really interesting. And yourself, Susan?
I guess for myself, I started off in medical microbiology and bioinformatics. That was my original background, and then I went on to do a postdoc, and then I realised quite quickly that academia wasn't really for me.
Yeah.
So I started looking into different areas, and I came across predictive maintenance, and it kind of appealed to me because it was a completely new area for me, and I quite like learning new things and using kind of the skills that I already had, and this felt like a very good fit.
I guess sometimes going into a new industry, that's quite exciting because I think as individuals, we always want to grow and we always want to be, and sometimes you want to be outside your comfort zone. So I guess in terms of Senseye, what made you guys choose Senseye?
They were doing something very new, something very groundbreaking, and I was really interested in kind of their mission statement.
Yeah.
And I know, talking to people like Rob and Chris, when I first met them, they had a very clear vision of what they wanted to do, and where they wanted things to go. And I think that was really interesting for me, right? It kind of provided me an insight into where we want to go and what we want to deliver.
Yeah.
And I found that really interesting and something I wanted to follow and come along on the journey with Senseye, right?
When I was talking to Chris, Becca and Rob, I got an idea of what the company stood for and what they were really interested in doing, and that really appealed to me.
I think for me as well, something that set Senseye aside from other things is I could take a lot of the skills I'd already learned, but I also had this brand new area that I could learn about in terms of the engineering that I hadn't, been so focused on, done little bits and pieces. But it's this entire space where, there's so many interesting and different bits of machinery that you just don't know about. I think Susan will probably agree with me that, every project you go into is a brand new project, right? It's something fresh, it's something interesting. There's new problems to be solved, there's new challenges to be found, and you can see the effect you have, over the course of a year working with these clients.
Yeah, no, I get it. And then I guess, so like the question I have is in terms of, so the role that you have at Senseye, what would you say is your kind of, day-to-day kind of like, what do you do? And well, I'm guessing it's different every time, right? Because I think with technology anyways, technology is changing so much. And I think in the predictive maintenance space, that's something which is,
constantly morphing.
Yeah, exactly. So it would just be interesting just to know from your kind of day-to-day experiences of working at Senseye what that entails.
Yeah, so there's quite a broad range of things we get up to on a day-to-day. But we've been working on methodology, and you'll find that you go through the same stages with every customer, right?
Yeah.
And very much the start of a project, your day-to-day with that customer is going to be things like asset selection, what kind of value you can find. We're quite interested in the delivery team of making sure that there's a really solid business case to anything we're looking at, and then what the feasibility of those things are, right? So what can we do for them? What's the best value we can provide? And then moving forward, there's a bit of day-to-day in terms of, we call it the deploy phase, where we look at how to take that data and effectively bring it into Senseye and use it to the best effect.
So Susan, from your perspective, how do you feel about the predictive maintenance space?
For me, yeah, you're right. It is new, and it's a completely different world from what I'm used to. So I'm learning very much from the beginning, and it's quite an interesting area to actually move into and actually look at everything that the company kind of looks at from, like Jack said, the asset management, putting on sensors, dealing with customers and things like that. It's very different depending on who you're dealing with. And for me, because I've just started, I haven't dealt with too many people.
Okay.
But it's really nice to actually be on a project from the very beginning and see it progress all the way through, and also be able to see what the likes of Jack has done before, and also Chris and Rebecca, what they have done, and be able to kind of understand the roles at different stages.
Something that I could find quite interesting is like, what's been your biggest challenge so far, right? What's
the biggest challenge so far? I guess is figuring out where everything actually is and where everything fits in. Like asking the right questions to the customers as well. Yeah. So because they differ so much, and there's like no project is the same as the one before. There might be some similarities, but they're quite different, even when it comes to like people's personalities. So you have to take that into consideration. You also have to take into consideration things like budgets, how much time as well they want to actually invest. So there's quite a lot of things to consider, which I didn't really think about before coming into the role.
So one of the things I find most interesting about that is that to some degree Susan's going through the same challenges we have with our customers. Yeah. Right. She's got to pick up something new. So for her, she's probably in the same state as when we first look at a project with a customer, trying to pick up, okay, how does all this stuff fit together? How do these steps fit in? What considerations do I need to take when I'm looking at a project?
Mm-hmm. So I know you mentioned, so with customers, right, I guess every case is different. So I know, Susan, you mentioned about kind of seeing the whole, like the process with each customer is different. Is there anything in particular that you've picked up in the last couple of weeks with kind of like seeing a process with engaging with the customer?
Yeah, so I've noticed that it's really important at the very beginning to have a very good relationship, be understand that they don't really know exactly what you're looking for, so you have to be very specific on what you need from them. But also it's all about communication, really. They need to let you know exactly what they need, and it's all about asking the right questions and talking to the right people. And that's, for me so far, maybe Jack has had different experiences to me, but has been actually really positive and really great, because people that I've dealt with have been very forthcoming with the information, and anything I've asked for, they've given it straight away. So I mean, I think it's communication is probably the biggest one that I've noticed that's important at the very beginning. I don't know if you would agree.
Yeah, I think at the start of any project, and I think it's something we probably strive for as a delivery team in general, is to be quite open with our customers, what we need, what we can deliver, and what's possible, right? With each customer, they have different data available, and they have different abilities to procure data, right? So we need to be very clear about what we need, how that data is going to work, and what different things we can look at within that. Yeah. And as Susan says, communication is really key to that entire process.
And I would agree with that. I think communication is so vital, because at the same time you're both, I want to say, relying on each other to feed that information so you can help each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's essentially what strengthens any relationship, because you kind of figure out what they need and then what you need from them in order for it to work collectively. So no, I completely get your perspectives.
Yeah, and there's a clear side to the role, which is very much as a facilitator.
Yeah.
You'll often have a lot of people from a company in the same room that maybe don't talk to each other day to day, right?
Yeah.
And part of our job is to facilitate the communication, not just between us, but also facilitate the discussion in general, to say, these are the things you need to consider in this realm. You guys, I've got the IT manager here. This is what you need to consider. Can you please talk to this person who's, needs to think about this? And the maintenance leads who want to say, okay, these are the assets that we have problems with. So.
And also there's people who are at different stages as well that have come in to the project at different points. So, I mean, some people have experience with the app already, and then, the app could be up and running in a company for a couple of months, but then you might actually have a meeting where someone's never used it and then they want to actually understand it. So it's good to be able to get people to interact and actually kind of teach each other as well. And that's something that I found when we actually went to one of the places that we on site we went, and there was one particular person and they had never used it before, but they wanted to bring it on, and it was really good, because then you already have the experience and people that are there can actually give them a hand as well. So it was good from that point of view, that there's lots of people interested in using it and helping each other out.
And what's your what's your personal view of the app?
Yeah, no, I've only been using it recently, so I think it's fine. It's quite interesting to see how it works, so how the information is actually being fed in and set up, and it's really nice. It's really easy to use as well, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, the key thing I'd always say is easy to use, right?
Yeah.
Everything's very clear, very obvious, and I think Adam, Jacob and Dan, who are the product team here, who I believe you spoke to last time, have done a great job with that. The user experience is really good. The UI is really intuitive.
Yeah.
The application itself gives you the information you need when you need to see it, right? And it makes it very clear what you need to look at.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the main purpose of the app. That's the key to it, right? Is for the people that are going to be using it day to day. That's really all they.
To find out more, search Senseye Predictive Maintenance.